the stabilisation that we saw between 2009 and 2013 has been completely undone. It started with a steady decline after 2013, but at its core, the reason for the economic decline hasn't just been international factors or a decline in productivity or business confidence as such. At its core, the responsibility for the decline in the economy lies with government through its gross overspending and through its failure to tackle corruption. We haven't fully understood what has been going on, but you may have seen the recent revelations that Zimbabwe's domestic debt increased by over $5 billion between the time of the coup and the end of last year. Arthur has touched on the current monetary policy. I'm not an economist. I make no pretensions in that regard. But there's some things about last week's statement that I think any person can comment on. Very clearly, although they don't describe this as a new currency, it is a currency. It's got a complicated name, the RTGS dollar, but it is a currency. As we all know, the confidence in a currency, any currency the world over, often vests in intangible notions. One of the key reasons for the stability of any currency the world over is the confidence that the public have in a country's central bank, that it's going to be responsible in the printing of currency. And tragically, aside from the fact, as Arthur alluded to, aside from the fact that the other economic fundamentals simply don't exist in the country, the fact remains is that there are very low levels of confidence in the current RBZ, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe leadership, in particular Governor Mangudya. As you recall, in 2016, he promised when he introduced the bond note that it would remain one-to-one with the US dollar. Last week, when my colleague Tendai Biti predicted that government was about to introduce a new currency, the governor said Biti was mad, that there were no intentions of introducing a new currency, only to introduce it a week later. The policy itself is confusing. As a lawyer, I cannot make head or tail of it. So there are very low levels of confidence in the governor himself. The same applies to the Minister of Finance, Ntuli Ngube. Whilst he may be an outstanding academic, he has demonstrated that he is someone who vacillates. And, of course, he is exceptionally weak politically. I know, having been in that cabinet with Arthur for 5 years, that it took the strong character of Tendai Biti to stand up against ZANU-PF's profligate habits. And he did it week in, week out in cabinet. It is hard to imagine someone like Professor Ngube being prepared to stand up to the military, to stand up to government. And I doubt very much that he will rein in spending. All of this, of course, has resulted in chaos in our financial markets and our banking sector. And the massive lack of public trust, which will almost certainly result in a lack of public trust in this new currency. Inflation has returned, businesses have been destabilized, many are facing closure. And whilst I hate being a pessimist when it comes to this new currency, I cannot see how it can possibly work in the current environment.